I had to think about what video I could potentially do today, and a random thought popped into my head. I remembered an old trend where somebody would get tagged online and they would give 50 facts about themselves. But since I'm not even the legal drinking age in America yet, I lowered it down to 30. But without any further ado, let's get into some facts. My first ever creepypasta I can remember reading was Squidward's Suicide. It scared me so much as a little kid that I was terrified of the dark, and I didn't get over the fear of the original creepypasta image until after I began my channel. Silly? Kinda. I've always been an avid writer. I've been writing for well over 10 years of my life, and the first thing I can ever remember writing, in terms of creepypastas, was an old creepypasta of Sonic.exe. I don't remember a thing about it. All I know is that it was awful and I never finished it. But hey, we gotta start somewhere. I'm 19 years old as of recording this, but I will turn 20 on February the 2nd. And since I started this channel on April 7th, 2020, I've been working on this channel for nearly 4 years of my life. It's pretty crazy how fast time flies. I have an extreme fear of bees or any insects that buzz. This is derived from a childhood incident where I accidentally picked up a wasp nest and threw it when I was throwing stones to my dog at the time. I was stung over 100 times, I was swollen all over, my mum and my mum's friend at the time were also there and they also got stung a lot, and I was eventually taken to the hospital. And yeah, ever since then, I don't like those buzzy bastards. And it's also one of the reasons I dislike summer. And speaking of which, my favourite time of year is winter. I love the cold a lot more than I love the heat, and most of my favourite parts of the year are in winter as well. However, autumn/fall is a close second. My biggest inspirations to start my YouTube channel are The Dark Reindeer, The Shadow Reader, Flipless Script, and Some Ordinary Gamers, and I'm extremely fortunate to have worked with all but one of them. My first ever YouTube video is one that doesn't exist anymore, but I remember it vividly. I shot it on an iPad, and it was me recording a reaction video to the video Pokemon Capture by Animated James, and this was long before any drama or controversy of him existed. The hardest creepypasta I ever wrote was My Game with Jigsaw. It took me over 2 weeks to complete it, because at the time I was struck with extreme writer's block, and literally the only thing I had written down was the beginning part for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden I found inspiration and finished the rest of the story in a day. My least favourite creepypasta I have ever written is Pokemon Faded Sun. It came from an unfortunate time in my life, and inspired from a person who turned out to be a horrible person, and it was written mostly as a joke and a side comment from him, and it is still, to this day, the only creepypasta I have ever written that I truly hate. Also, the original video was garbage. Contrary to this, my favourite creepypastas I have ever written are The Red Mist Rewrite, Pineapple Fever Alternate Episode, The Green Flu Tapes, and Karma Crabs. My favourite video game is Left 4 Dead 2, and it's the one I've put the most time into overall. I've been playing it since 2013. Some honourable mentions will go to Cyberpunk 2077, 7 Days to Die, and Friday the 13th the game. I will miss Friday the 13th though. Shame about the lawsuit. I have one brother and one sister, and I'm the youngest in my family. My favourite drink for the longest time was Tango Orange, but now Coke Zero has overtaken it. I didn't start listening to actual music properly until I was a teenager. As a kid, I always enjoyed video game music a lot more, and maybe it was a sign I was different than others. It makes you think. I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome at the age of 11 in 2015. However, my mother always knew I was different to other people. I never did any of the things that other kids my age did. I was always on my own doing my own thing as opposed to doing the things they did. I was more articulate and seemed to do things like walk or talk much quicker than the average person would. It took some time to truly understand my autism and to accept it. But nowadays, I would never want to be quote unquote normal anymore. I'm autistic and I'm proud of it. I've been assaulted several times in school. One notable time I was almost blinded in my eyes. One of the bullies at that school tried to spray some strong deodorant into my eyes. I blocked it and got away, however. Another time I was targeted by somebody who had some, let's say, serious issues in their life. Unprovoked too, mind you. I ended up having my glasses broken as well. It was one of the toughest periods of my life. But my family helped me through it, because they're the best. As a kid, I had a weird habit of constantly repeating the adverts on the TV I saw. According to my mum, I could recite them perfectly word for word, number for number. And I still wonder to this day how she ended up putting up with it. My favourite gaming console is a tie between the Xbox 360 and the DS Lite. The PS5 and PS4 are right behind it though. My favourite musical instruments to listen to are the piano, the electric guitar, the violin, and the harpsichord. A very unusual choice, the harpsichord, but it is very underrated. Over my time on YouTube, I've had many thumbnail artists, and I figured I would give them the credit they deserve for helping me along the way. The first ever thumbnail on my channel was made by my good friend Fiend, or the Random Fiend at the time. He also made my first ever YouTube intro. I also owe my channel's identity to him. We were in a Discord call discussing a cool creepypasta channel name. We threw around a few names, but the Dark Author ended up sticking. Fiend also drew my character's avatar, this cute little guy. But he eventually left to do his own things, like now he has his own animated show online. So massive props to him. The second thumbnail artist I had was a guy called Screen Scourge. He drew most of my really early thumbnails. The way you could tell a thumbnail was by him is by the signature Flood font on the thumbnail. Here are a couple examples of some of the thumbnails he ended up doing. The third thumbnail artist who worked for me was a guy called Sorry about that, my mic ended up glitching. I'm doing this kind of no editing whatever, or little editing, but my third and current thumbnail artist is The Summit. You guys know him best for helping me with the Suicide Mouse videos. He's really one of the best guys I've ever met while doing YouTube, and most of the modern thumbnails on my channel are done by him. So genuinely, he is one of the best. And these are all of the people who helped me with my thumbnails and other things on the channel. Also a shout out to Rebel Diamond for helping me with my latest intro. So thank you all. I love riding roller coasters. My favourite one at this moment is Galactica, at Alton Towers. However, it was called Air at the time I first rode it. My favourite band of all time at this moment is Linkin Park. A close second is Breaking Benjamin. Some of my favourite individual singers are Juice WRLD, Post Malone and Eminem. On the topic of music, I can't listen to the song Your Reality from Doki Doki Literature Club without crying. I don't know why this happens, but it does. I do love the song despite this, however. I can't be in the same room as somebody eating the food prawn crackers. The sight of them and the sound of somebody eating them makes me physically and mentally sick. It's the food of the devil for me, and even editing this very picture onto this video makes me feel uncomfortable. I hate the taste of tap water unless it's in a bottle or through a straw. Whenever I try to drink tap water in a quote-unquote normal way, it just tastes a lot worse for me. I don't know why this is the case, and honestly, talking about it, it doesn't really make any sense. But that's just how it is for me. I used to hate anime for the longest time, and I only became a fan of anime because I was borderline harassed into watching anime by my friends. But I'm really glad they did. Although going alongside this, the first ever anime I can remember watching or seeing was Dragon Ball Z. I used to catch glances whenever my brother was watching it at our home when he lived here. And this is yet another thing I owe to my brother alongside my love for Pokemon. Another one is the Pokemon anime itself, Generation 4 and 5 specifically. However, my first anime I fully completed all the way through is embarrassing to admit, but it's High School DxD. That was the anime I was not so subtly told to watch by my friends. It was a laugh, but genuinely, it wasn't a good start for an anime. Although I will forever love Trip of Innocent D, the intro song to Season 1. But my true love for anime came when I watched Dragon Ball, the original one, and more specifically Dragon Ball Z. And that is when my love for anime was forever solidified. And speaking of which, my favourite anime that is part of a series is Dragon Ball Z. I consider it one of the best pieces of fiction I've seen for several reasons. My favourite anime that is not part of a series and is just a standalone thing is a tie between Death Note and Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Those are also some of the best written pieces of media and animation I've ever seen. Death Note is also the first manga I ever own, as I own the first 2 books of it. I suffer from insomnia and oftentimes struggle intently with sleeping. This is due to many factors in my life due to poor dieting because of my sensory issues, the low amount of vitamin D in my system, and lastly because of my autism. And finally, this YouTube channel is probably the thing I've put the most extensive time into. That's not IRL things. It genuinely is my crowning jewel out of all the things I've done, besides staying alive for my loved ones. So to end this positively, you guys are all the best fans I could have ever asked for. Thank you everybody who supports me to this day. You're awesome. I know that was a cheesy way to end this off, but that'll do. That's 30 facts about me. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you later.